morning, and please be seated. I want to tell you the story of a young priest in training many years ago. His name was Levi. Things were not going well for his priest in training work. He never could figure out when to use his hands. He always misspoke. He was always in the wrong place at the wrong time. And he seemed to be always in the wrong robe. So one day, the high priest called him into his office. And as he approached the high priest and all of his advisors, the high priest said to him, "Levi, I have a job for you. I want you to go covert and go out to Jordan and find out what is happening out there. There's a whole bunch of people that are gathering together and taking baths in the Jordan River. And I want to know what it is. Are the Romans going to take wind of this, and are they fomenting revolution? Are they turning against the temple? Are they turning against us as priests?" So Levi found himself on the road to the Jordan. He had changed his robes so that he could go underground and be covert. He didn't have his priest in training robes. He had an old gown that he found in the back of his closet that was kind of tattered. And the road was very busy. He noticed that there was a lot of dust that was being kicked up by large groups, small groups, young, old, people that were well-dressed and people that were in tatters. But all of them seemed to have a look on their faces that was intense, as if they were all sort of driven toward one object. Some of them were talking to each other. Some of them seemed to be almost praying with their lips and in their hearts. There was an old woman in front of him, and Levi noticed that she seemed to be frail and stumbling. She didn't have water or food with her. Eli clutched what he had and thought, do I have enough? Is my jug of water enough? Do I have enough figs and bread? And then the lady collapsed in front of him. And he didn't know what to do. He hadn't been to that class in seminary. He didn't know. It was a woman, and she looked like she was in distress. And so he stepped back and thought, now what do I do? And around him came another young man who, to Levi's astonishment, leaned over, gathered this older lady in his arms, shared his water with her, and she began to revive again. Levi didn't know what to do then. Should he continue to watch? Should he help this young man? Or, as he did, stepped around him and kept walking. Levi came up over the hill and down into the Jordan Valley, and there was a massive crowd. And he said, okay, here I am. I'm ready to go to work. And so he started to kind of filter in with the different groups. He tried to listen and remember what these people were saying. But they were talking about heart and soul. These were words he had not been taught in seminary. They talked about how they wanted more love than law, how they wanted more caring for each other rather than caring for the temple. They talked about their sins. They talked about wanting to be cleansed of their sins. And Levi began to feel more and more uncomfortable. How was he going to explain this to the high priest? They were talking in language that the people back at the temple didn't know about. They were talking in words. They were talking with an intensity that scared Levi. They were caring for each other. He sat down with one group until he realized that they were sharing their water and their bread with each other. He leapt up, went to another crowd, because he did not want to share, nor did he want to be perceived as not sharing. And as he was mingling with this next crowd, this crowd was talking about their sins. They were talking about things that they had done that made Levi blush. They were talking about being forgiven of those sins, being washed. And then Levi heard a voice from behind him. And he turned, and it was the nice young man who had helped the lady in front of him. And the nice young man had a look in his face that was kind and compassionate. And he turned to Levi and said, "Is this the line? Are you in line to be baptized? Are we in line?" And Levi panicked. Oh no, he thinks I'm one of them. He thinks that I might be the ones that needed forgiveness, that needed cleansing. He thinks that I may be one who's looking for love and heart. Am I one of them? Am I in line? Oh no. It's a funny thing about lines. We don't want to be in them, but when we're in them, there's a sense of community. If you've ever been in one of those Disney lines, you start talking to the people in front of you. And you find out where they're from and why they're there. And then you start talking to the people behind you, and one of them says, I really am thirsty. Do you mind if you hold my space in line and I'll go get some water? And so you say, of course, sure. And they come back with an extra bottle of water for you. And it becomes this community as you walk toward, anticipating what's going to happen. You know, and you hold somebody's wiggly baby while they can go into their diaper bag. And it becomes this sort of, we're all going in the same direction. In essence, churches are like that. We're all in line, waiting to come to communion, to be baptized. We're one of each other. We're one of them. But sometimes we want to feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, diaper the babies, but we don't want to be one of them. We don't want people to think that we might be hungry, that we might be shelterless, that our babies might need diapers or formula. Or we begin to have a choice. Or am I going to pay for the rent? Am I going to give my son a diaper and be able to change it? We don't want to be one of them. We don't want to be in that line. Oh, we'll be in our lines here. But Jesus was in that line. Jesus was in the line to be baptized with all those other sinners. Jesus is in line with us, before us, behind us, next to us. And yet in church, what is it? We come here because things are going well, and we're embarrassed and don't come when things aren't going well. My grandmother had 2 beautiful children, was married to an orthopedic surgeon. Things were going so well until one day he came home and said, "Honey, I'm leaving you. I'm going to Arkansas with my nurse." She never went to church again because she was so embarrassed. He was the blackguard, and yet she didn't know what to do with her community. My father and his sister actually were taken to church by their grandfather, but she never went back because she was so embarrassed about this thing called divorce. Are we in line with everyone here? Are we in line with only those that are healthy and respectable and certified to be Episcopalians? Are we in line to be baptized with Charles? Are we willing to say, yes, we accept you? Sin, needy, hungry, cold. We too are like that Because that's the line that Jesus is in. Jesus is in the line with those that need it, those who know they need it, those that know that they need the love and the joy. A couple of weeks ago, I went on vacation and I was in the TSI security line. And then I looked at my boarding pass and I was pre-checked. So I got myself out of line and I got myself in the pre-check line and I felt golden. I have to admit, ever since I was ordained, I've been in the pre-check line. Though my friends keep saying, oh no, it's not because you've been ordained. It's just because it's random. I'm even thinking about doing global access just so that I can be pre-checked. I don't want to be in that line. I don't want to have to take my shoes off. I don't want to have to take my coat off. I don't want to have to take my everything out of my pockets. But that's the line that Jesus is in. Jesus is in the line of those who wait, watch, and wonder. Is St. Margaret's a place where we're all in that line with Jesus, for Jesus? Can we be the Jesus for those in need, those that are hungry, those without shelter? Are you in that line? Are you one of them? Amen.